And welcome to Theater Talk Boston. Today we're joined by Jonathan Mousset Alonso, who plays Frankie Valli in Jersey Boys, playing at the North Shore Music Theater from August 6th through September 1st. Hi, Jonathan. Thanks for joining us today.
Hey, Kobi. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So Jersey Boys opened to critical acclaim back in 2005. What was your first experience with the show? Did you see it on Broadway?
I actually saw a national touring production of it when I was in high school in around maybe 2008, and I went with my mother when it was probably one of the first shows that I was seeing when I was first getting involved in theater, because I went to performing arts high school, and that's kind of where I got my start. And I saw that show, and I heard those voices, and there was a little spark in me that realized, not realized, but there was a little spark in me that was up to the challenge,
right?
To see if I could do that. And honestly, I remember watching it and being so impressed, and I'm thinking that this was so out of reach, and now here I am, probably 12 years later,
right,
playing the title role, and it's quite a dream.
That's awesome. For the two people who don't know the show, could you tell us a little bit of what it's about?
Yes, of course. It is a story about Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons, about how they came to be, about the troubles they went through. And it's also interestingly told through each perspective of the original Four Seasons. So it's split up into 4 sections where each season gets to narrate and tell their story in their own way. So what you'll end up seeing is kind of the same story being told in 4 different ways, and seeing how each perspective influences the behaviors and the characteristics of each person.
Right. This isn't your first time playing the role. You actually played Frankie earlier this summer at the Algonquin Playhouse up in Maine, which truly had the entire Northeast talking about it. I'm so upset I couldn't go see that production. But what is it like returning to the role so soon, especially now with a different cast and a different director?
I mean, it's fantastic. Getting the privilege of getting to know a character so well means that you can just go into rehearsal and start working immediately day one, and not have to worry about the technicalities, not having to worry about the memorization of lines. I can just go in there and truly start playing and experimenting. And also, it's being done in the round for the first time, so right. We're pioneering this show in a way. And it's been a challenge because I've had to let go of certain things that are only appropriate in a proscenium theater.
Sure. Such as what?
It's very, I would say it's very grounded in a proscenium show, because it's all it takes is for you to stand center and sing. Mm-hmm. But in the round, you have to incorporate each side of the audience. So say there's a number where I'm usually standing alone in one single spot. Now I'm in one spot for 10 seconds, and then I'm turning around and I'm interacting with someone behind me, and then I'm going across the stage to the other side to then incorporate them, so everyone can get a 360 view of me. But on the other side of that, there's a freedom that I've never experienced before. I mean, I've played in the round before, but there's a freedom in this role that I haven't experienced, because I'm able to live so honestly, I think, in a way that I can explore physically around me. It's a liberating thing, and it's really hard to put into words.
Right.
But it's just going to have to be something for you to see.
For sure. Yeah, no, that's one of my favorite parts about North Shore, but we'll go back to that in a second. Mm-hmm. There's something about Jersey Boys that just has people fall in love. Like, you say the name of it, and people who aren't even Broadway or musical theater fans go, "Oh, I love that show." What is it about this that just has people so in love with it?
I think it's because it's the soundtrack of a generation.
Sure.
Bob Gaudio and Bob Crew created this music that's so ingrained into the American fabric. It's in our DNA, essentially, as Americans, and getting to see that being told getting to see that music and seeing how it's interwoven into this human story that kind of strips the icon and the celebrity from these four people, and seeing where the music came from. It's ethereal. It's just pure catharsis for audiences.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite things just to think about is like the future of American theater. So I was just wondering if you ever thought about this. What do you think of in like 50 or 60 years? Do you think they'll still be performing the show for like a generation who doesn't really know who the Four Seasons were?
I really wouldn't be surprised, because I think this music is timeless, and I think this music will. I mean, it stood the test of time as is.
Right.
These songs have come out, 40, 50, some even 60 years ago, and they're still being received with such charisma and enthusiasm. And even seeing the young audiences that we get to see show up. I mean, the young audiences I saw at Algonquin, the people who are my age, my generation, and even the generation below me. I mean, I can see this musical itself being the thread that connects new generations to this music, if that makes sense.
Oh, 100%. When you started rehearsals, I guess the first time you went around this, did you do a lot of research into Frankie Valli as a real person? Because it's so different than, let's say you're playing the baker and Into the Woods, you have so much freedom because it's just a character, but he's a real human. So how'd you tackle that?
Oh man, I saw endless videos. I mean, just being, YouTube University nowadays, and then that's all you need really. But also, I read a couple books about the seasons. I read, I saw endless videos and studying the mannerisms and studying interviews that he's done. But the beauty of it though is like when you do a show, when you do a role, I think what people are most attracted to is authenticity.
Right.
So even if I'm not directly portraying each mannerism to the T, it's going to be forgiven, because if I'm at least bringing some authenticity of my own to the role in the way that I interpret it, then it'll be received well. Because at the end of the day, authenticity is what made them so charismatic. Right. So that's all I can do really to emulate the role, and apparently it's been received pretty well. So something must have gone right.
It seems like we have a new jukebox musical popping up every single day. Is there one that's already in existence that you'd love to be in, or is there one that you would love to work on creating?
Oh, that is a really good question. I would love to see an Ava Cassidy musical.
Ooh.
And Beautiful too. I would love to be a part of the Carole King musical.
I think that's one of my favorite musicals of all time.
Yeah. I really want to play that Barry character. So if any casting directors out there listening who want to get me a job, Barry is very much on my radar.
That's awesome. But yeah, I love that show. I know we just spoke about it a little bit, but this is your first time at North Shore Music Theater. What's it like working at this theater? Because it's such a big part of the Boston theater scene and it's been for so many years. What's it like coming to it?
Well, we've been rehearsing in this rehearsal space for the past 2 weeks. And actually today will be our first day in the space proper, getting to start with the technical process. I mean, I wish I could come back to you in a week, or even in 3 days. But so far it's been a dream, and just seeing this creative team is a dream to work with. They're so open-minded and they're so willing to listen, and they're not trying to recreate anything. They're very interested in just establishing new relationships, new energy, new choices to be made. So there's a lot of creative liberty that I'm feeling. That's very refreshing. And I can just tell that every facet of this theater is top notch. From the dressers to the costume design to the people building the sets to the musicians. I can already tell.
Right. Growing up, did you always know you wanted to be an actor? I know you went to school in Florida for it.
Yeah. Well, pretty much. I was singing in church choirs. I when I was from the time I was 5 to about 9. And then when I was old enough to start auditioning for community theater productions, I did, and I would, book little roles here and there. And then I ended up making the decision to go to a performing arts high school, and from there it really took off. There was no stopping me at that point.
Right.
4 years in a high school program, doing every main stage musical. And even during the summer, I would do three musicals at once, and then go into the school year and do the shows there. And then I ended up going to Florida State University, and I got my performance degree in musical theater there, and went straight to the city. So I mean, it's been a lifelong thing. This is very much my life's work, and it's getting to the point where it feels as natural as breathing.
Right. Speaking as a fellow Floridian here, did you go to Thespians in Tampa?
Oh, absolutely. Thespian State Festival. Actually, my high school was right in downtown, so we would actually host the main stage musicals most of the time. Yeah, Blake High School in Tampa. Shout out to Blake.
That's great. Do you have any dream roles you still want to conquer besides, of course, Barryman?
I mean, I would love to play Alexander Hamilton at some point. But I always like to say that my dream role hasn't been written yet. Because I think it's every actor's dream to just create a new role from the ground up.
Right. And finally, our question that we ask every guest here on Theater Talk Boston, do you have any fun on-stage mishap stories where something goes terribly wrong during a performance?
Oh, my goodness. I could write a novel on this. But most notably, this last production at Algonquin, oh, my goodness. In my very first entrance, I'm singing I Can't Give You Anything But Love. And a wasp slowly lands itself and burrows itself into my hair. And everyone on stage around me sees this happen, and they all look terrified of me. And meanwhile, I have no idea what's going on. So I go off stage. I come back on to do a scene with Mary Delgado, and we do a scene, and she's just looking at my forehead. And I'm wondering what the hell is going on. We go off stage. She screams, "It's still in there! It's still in there!" And I'm so confused. Meanwhile, I have 5 scenes that I need to do back to back with no break. So I'm on stage, and everyone is just terrified of me looking at my hair, and I'm not even aware. I don't feel anything.
Of course.
So finally, 20 minutes into the show, 20 minutes after the wasp burrows itself in my head, I go backstage, and there is the wig attendant there, and she has computer duster. She comes up to me, screams, "Bend over!" I bend over. She dusts the wasp out of my hair. It flies on the floor, and she stomps on it.
Wow. Classic.
And that's the story of Frankie Valli and the Wasp.
That's so funny. We ask this question every interview, and I think that you're the 3rd or 4th person to tell us a story that happened during a performance of Jersey Boys. Maybe the show, it's just something. But
well, I think there's just if we look at the statistics of how long I'm actually on stage,
right,
it's about 2 hours on stage, so something is bound to happen within those 2 hours.
For sure. Well, Jonathan, I just want to thank you so much for talking with us today. Everyone, please go see Jersey Boys playing at the North Shore Music Theater August 6th through September 1st. Get your tickets at nsmt.org. Jonathan, best of luck with the run. I can't wait to see the show.
Thank you so much.